Ebru is going to do her presentation, as you can see on her screen today. Quickly, I just want to remind people that this is a webinar that's arranged by NOHBA, the Natural and Organic Health and Beauty Alliance. We invite you to check out our website and sign up for our newsletter, by which you'll be informed about these webinars. They are focused on providing all kinds of information for indie brands, everything from the down and dirty on recycling to specific things about SPFs or essential oils, or in this case, immunocosmetics. So take it away.
Okay. So can you see the screen? Okay, awesome. You're not seeing my background. Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about the Immunocosmetics, the 2021 trend, and here is why. Because let's start with this one first. Let me pull this one down because I can't see that. Okay, so with the COVID-19 hitting us last year, basically in March, everybody started talking about the immune system. And before that, as an immunologist, I know, when I was trying to explain how skincare and wellness and stress impacts your immune system, everybody was like, what's an immune system? I'm like, the stuff that keeps you alive. So now with COVID-19, most of the people know we need to have a healthy immune system to defend us from viruses, bacteria, stress, and everything else. So going back to the skin, our skin is our outermost barrier that protects us from external harm. These external harm could be environmental pollution, it could be UV light, it could be microbes, it could be physical impact. So with those said, your skin acts as an active immune organ. So it also has the microbiome, the chemical, the physical, and the immune barriers, and these all work together as an interactive network. So any of the disruption of these barriers will lead to a pathogenic skin condition like infections, inflammations, allergies, eczema, rosacea, cancer. So this figure here is just to show you skin is a very complicated organ. Although it looks on the surface very simple, as you can see, it has an epidermis, dermis, hypodermis, and all this works to protect us. So let's go into the 4 pillars of our skin ecosystem. So I'm gonna start from outer surface towards underneath the skin. So we start with the microbiome barrier. So a couple years ago, nobody talked about microbiome. So now everything is about microbiome. So the microbiome is a very complex ecosystem, and there are commensal bacteria, which are the good bacteria that keeps the pathogenic bacteria in check. So what are these pathogenic bacteria? It could be Staphylococcus aureus and stuff like that. And these good commensal bacteria keeps these bad bacteria under control. And it talks to your immune system underneath your skin, which we call it the cutaneous immunity. So you can see here the commensal bacteria, and then we move to the chemical barrier. The chemical barrier is a very complex barrier. It is composed of lipids, antimicrobial peptides, a lower pH. It has its natural moisturizing factors like lactate, urea, electrolytes, amino acids. And the function of this barrier is to help maintain the moisture and the acid mantle of the skin. And by keeping this low pH and all these nice microbial peptides, it inhibits the growth of these bacterial pathogens. So skin microbiome stops the growth, chemical barrier stops the growth. So now we move into the physical barrier. So the physical barrier is formed of keratinocytes, and it preserves the structure of the skin by forming these really tight junctions. So the cells, let me show you here, like you have these cells here, right? There is a really tiny gap. That is your tight junctions here. And you also have the adherent junctions. So these cells help to produce the physical barrier. So with that said, in this physical barrier, you have your CD8 T cells, which is one of the immune cells, and the Langerhans cells. They're like macrophages, antigen presenting cells in this area. So these guys, the Langerhans cells, catch the antigens that come from outside. It could be a bacteria, it could be a virus, it could be a pollutant. So these guys catch it and present it to the CD8 T cells, and they start producing cytokines and help with the first line of defense. So right underneath it is your immune barrier. So the physical barrier and immune barrier kind of overlaps because you have the Langerhans cells and the T cells here. So the underneath the cells, you have the mast cells, the macrophages, the CD8s, dendritic cells, and natural killer cells. And all these constitute the innate and adaptive immunity. So whether they are the resident or the resident, meaning they're already there, or they're recruited by the residents to the skin, they all work against protecting against the pathogens. So how would they be recruited? Let's say you have a bacteria came in. So the bacteria passed in the microbiome, the chemical barrier and the physical barrier, and it's already in the cell, in the skin, right? So the residents start working, first the Langerhans cells and the CD8 cells start working, and they start secreting these cytokines, the danger signals, let's call it. Then the residents here start working against this bacteria, but sometimes it's not enough. So they start calling other immune cells from the body and recruit them here, and in turn mount a memory response. So let me move this. All right. So how does the immune system work? The skin immune system work? Let me try to make this smaller. Perfect. So we now know the skin is your first line of defense, being a physical barrier against external environment, microbes, and aggressors. This is just another more detailed look. So your skin has this immune system that protects against the infection, the cancer, toxins, and it helps to prevent against immunity, autoimmunity, irritation, inflammation. So the skin immune system is also sometimes called as skin associated lymphoid tissue, SALT. And this includes the peripheral lymphoid organs like the skin, spleen, and the lymph nodes. So these are all the immune cells into the skin immune system, how it works. So you have the innate and the adaptive one, right? So that's what I told you. So the skin immune system, with any immune system, like all our immune system, is comprised of two units: innate, which is non-specific; adaptive, which is specific. So the non-specific one includes the Langerhans cells, the macrophages, and T cells, and it can be induced and by UV light, trauma, irritants, and infections. So your Langerhans cells in your skin, the keratinocyte level, which is in your physical barrier, is activated, starts sending these signals, and you can see stress signals, by activating your dermal dendritic cells, by secreting these cytokines. These cytokines, all of them here, like interleukin-1, IL-6, IL-18, TNF-alpha, interferon alpha, these are all inflammatory cytokines. So they will be secreted in large amounts when you have an inflammatory agent. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said they are inflammatory cytokines. Yes. So do they cause inflammation or do they fight inflammation?
Both ways. So let me think an example. So let's say we have bacteria, right? It invades and it activated the Langerhans cells here. So with that activation, you will have production of these cytokines here, right? So when they're produced, their main activity is to fight against the bacteria that are invading the system. But if it's over a certain limit, it starts to cause inflammation. Then you will start seeing it. So it's a cycle. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, and so that's also when you generate that swelling, to a certain extent, that's your lymphatic system responding. Is that correct? And it's kind
Yeah,
of
that's your immune system responding. Lymphatic.
So it's
system is
bringing,
different.
but it's bringing in other cells. I mean, what?
Yes.
Okay, so it's putting out the call for come help me, and
Yes.
that's what causes the physical sensation of inflammation.
First, okay, let's say this. So think it like an exponential increase, right? You got bacteria came in, the Langerhans cells, macrophages, they start producing these cytokines, which is the messengers. They put out the call to other cells to come in. So they come in, but these cytokines here can induce the production of more cytokines. So with that said, if they cannot get rid of the irritant, you're going to start seeing the inflammation on your skin.
Okay.
But they can get rid of it without you even realizing it.
Got it.
Okay. So this is just a continuous traffic, you know. It talks like the skin is exposed and talks to the, you know, Langerhans in the barrier level talks below. Also, there's sometimes the disruption of the skin microbiome can also cause the immune system to get activated. In return, if the immune system is not working as it's supposed to, it cannot protect the skin microbiome, because the skin microbiome is your good bacteria. You want it to be balanced. So all these 4 layers needs to be in perfect harmony. They need to be in perfect health, so everything looks nice and healthy. So let's move here. So this brings us to inflammaging. So inflammaging, let's go into this little figure here. So in a regulated inflammatory response, you have the irritant that comes in. Inflammation is good for you because it works against the irritant or the bacteria, and then it helps to destroy that agent, and in return also helps with the tissue repair because it's inducing the cells that are responsible of tissue repair, and it helps you to keep you healthy. However, there is something called inflammaging, and inflammaging happens when you have microchronic inflammation. So it's constantly inducing the immune system, but it's not enough to cause a huge inflammatory response, but it's always there, bugging the immune system. So this chronic inflammation can cause tissue damage because it's not repairing anymore. It's constantly putting out cytokines. It's constantly activating the T cells, the B cells, the macrophages, and it is attacking the tissue. So when does this happen? It could be due to ongoing chronic stress. It could be exposure to pollution daily. And this puts the skin immune system on constant overdrive. It's constantly working, and it happens under the skin. So with this said, inflammation and aging, the term that comes from inflammaging. So the constant exposure to these irritants, even at the micro level, and the chronic inflammation ages the skin because it's constantly working. It's degrading the collagen, it's degrading the elastin structure, and it is hurting the physical barrier. So once it is visible on the skin, that means your skin's ability to buffer this inflammation, to keep it under control, it's over the tipping point. And you start seeing these as itchiness, dryness, redness, rough texture, irritation. Even you could feel like a burning sensation, like after you feel the sunburn. And this is due to the dysregulation of the skin barrier and the microbiome and the immune system being under chronic inflammation stage. So at the end, this severe response leads to compromised skin barrier function, premature signs of aging, disruption of the skin microbiome, and weakening of the skin immune balance. And we start looking unhealthy and we feel unhealthy. So, main culprits of inflammation, stress, sitting in front of the computer all day, doing a lot of Zoom meetings, pollution, blue light, dehydration, fast food, lack of sleep, toxins, I'm going to say the stuff we get from fast food, a lot of sugar. These cause inflammation. And the inflammation, the microchronic inflammation, it can weaken the skin's ability to fulfill its major task, like maintenance of the body's integrity, its barrier function, rapid restoration, and you know, fixing the cells of the barrier, and the immune homeostasis, which means the immune balance. You want it to be balanced, you want it to be healthy in these cases. So disruption of this leads to vicious circle of this inflammation and skin disease. So what can you do? How can you help this? So what we can do is by paying attention to these inflammation inducing signs, stress, pollution, dehydration, lack of sleep. But even though you're taking care of those, sometimes it's too late and you need extra help. Your skin needs extra help. That's where the immunocosmetics come in. So the immunocosmetics actually aims to help support and preserve these key critical skin barrier compartments: the microbiome, the chemical barrier, the physical barrier, and the immune barrier. So it focuses on to visibly prevent and decrease the signs of inflammation and to help overall wellness. And let's go into possible ingredients. I'm not going to touch base all the ingredients today. I'm going to touch base on 4 ingredients. We can discuss the other ingredients that comes to your mind. So one of them is niacinamide, though, vitamin B3. I love that ingredient. It has a lot of publications on PubMed that shows its anti-inflammatory properties. So it can help modulate the inflammatory cytokine production and the skin barrier function, as well as it helps to restore the cellular energy levels after UV exposure. And there are tons of papers about this on PubMed. Bokuchiol is a new star ingredient. It is promoted as a healthier alternative to retinol, and it has been shown to significantly suppress the pro-inflammatory cytokine expression, which are the messengers in inflammation and a regular inflammation pathway, in a dose-dependent manner. Again, you can find these papers, these scientific papers in PubMed. Vitamins, A, C, E, K, and rest of them. And there's, again, tons of publications on these. The anti-inflammatory benefits, how they boost the cell repair, their antioxidant response to work against free radicals that are induced by UV light, stress, or even, inflammatory fast foods. They're all known and they're all used today. Adaptogens is another star that's rising. They are plant-based anti-inflammatory elements. They help visibly to soothe dry, sensitive, and irritated skin. The star adaptogens are ashwagandha, reishi, and snow mushroom that are coming out. And there are other immunocosmetic friendly ingredients like peptides, stem cell extracts from plants, and we can go into those if you have specific questions. So how would you formulate an immunocosmetic product? So there are several companies that are using these ingredients as by themselves or in combination. But the thing is, just using one ingredient is not helpful. You need to select them carefully. They need to be chosen carefully, not for their surface barrier function, but also their support to keep the chemical, the microbiome, and the immune barriers healthy. And that's how they should be selected. Also, one or two anti-inflammatory ingredients, using them at the minimal concentration for marketing purposes is not going to work out. That is not an immunocosmetic. So there should be a more comprehensive approach to select the ingredients. You can ask for the scientific data from your suppliers. You can look at the research data from PubMed, and then analyze what percentage they are recommending and how it's working. If there's side effects, if there's allergies, you can choose it that way using these data. Less is more approach. Today, that is used a lot. This term is used a lot, but not always less is more. So the less is more can be also explained as having less products, using less products on the skin, whereas using multifunctioning and multitasking formulations, instead of putting 10 different products, you have one product that has multitasking formulation that works against, for example, anti-aging. It helps with brightening. You can use it during day and night instead of using a day cream and a night cream and this one, that. So the more products you put on your skin, the more possibility you can have with sensitivity. So the point is, in this less and more approach with the multifunction and multitasking formulas, is to prevent sensitivity and irritation related skin issues by using less number of products. So the last thing, and I think it's one of the most important parts, is data-backed formulations, so all the testing needs to be done. It could be preservative efficacy testing, stability testing, batch quality testing, the human repeat insult patch testing, which is the dermatologist testing for eye creams, the ophthalmologist testing, the product efficacy testing, if you can do it. For example, if you want to go with the in vitro route, you can do anti-inflammatory testing, for example, on a macrophage cell line, which is an immune cell, raw to 64.7, which we use a lot in the lab, and add the product on top of it and see if it's producing TNF alpha, if it's downregulating nitric oxide production, or you can look at antioxidant efficacy by measuring DPPH, scavenging activity. On top of it, you can consult with your suppliers if they have a scientific body, if they can, recommend someone in their group with immunology background or microbiology background, or you can reach out to dermatologists, academicians who are doing research and ask. I mean, what they're going to do. The worst case scenario is they're not going to know, but they can send you to someone who actually knows this stuff. So that is it for today. I went, I think, too fast, but I wanted to leave you questions time. And this is some of the references. And if you want more references, I can provide them.
Unmute. Hi, sorry. That was so interesting to me. I was a physiologist by training, so I was really having fun listening to this. Thank you.
Oh, cool.
Does anybody, I have a couple of questions. Does anybody else have questions?
I typed a question into the chat box.
Oh.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, so it just says, it sounds like we really want to have a healthy, strong skin barrier.
Is that really, Ebru, is that what's really going to help kind of with overall skin health and fight against, and give us like a stronger immune system?
It's like a circle. Okay.
Okay.
So if you have a healthy, strong skin barrier, that microbiome, the chemical and the physical, right on the top, that is going to protect your immune system. So if you have that healthy, the immune system underneath it is going to be like nice and dandy, saying, oh, there's no problem upstairs, I can stay nice and healthy. But if the microbiome is disturbed, if the chemical is disturbed, on top of it, if the physical is disturbed, now the immune system says, there is something wrong. I need to go up and fix this because these guys cannot stop it anymore. So it is like your huge big army waiting its time to protect you, you know?
Okay. So
So
that was,
all
you
four of
described it
them,
perfectly.
yeah, all four of them needs to be in balance.
Okay. And then if one's disrupted, that's where we start to see some issues come in.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have 3 questions for you. So
Shoot.
I'll go from the macro to the micro. So
Mhm.
although I'm starting with the microbiome. So the microbiome, which is a macro system over the whole body, right? We don't really have an established idea of what that looks like because everybody's is different, number one. Number two, we're constantly disrupting it by using things like soap and body wash and even shampoo. And so what are you hearing and what do you think about the optimal way in the cosmetic space to help people maintain a healthy microbiome?
Okay, so just from the cosmetics view,
However you're comfortable.
okay, so let's start from the personal side, right? So there was this theory that suggested you are born with the microbiome and it's constant all your life, which is not true, which is because there's new data coming out. The microbiome can change based on where you live, what you eat, what you're exposed to, even your mental status, if you're stressed or not. So with that said, do not stress. Just keep stress away. It's not good for you. It's not good for the immune system. It's not good for your skin and microbiome. On top of that, the lifestyle we have, what we eat affects it. So this is what we can control. On top of that, the skincare products we use. There's a new paper out. Actually, I think it's been 2 months since it came out. This paper shows that they applied the products on the skin, a cream, and they measured the microbiome and they let them go on for a week, just shower. And then they looked at the microbiome. They found out that the product they applied to actually affected the microbiome. So how you formulate the product, what you're putting it in, is going to affect the microbiome. How you pH it, what kind of preservative you use. You have to use a preservative. There has to be a preservative, because if there's no preservative or a weak preservative system in the cosmetic product, you're basically loading your skin microbiome with bad bacteria. So these little critters here are trying to push them away at the same time, but they can only do so much. So during formulation, I think those 3 things are very important. A good formulation with good ingredients, clean ingredients, that it's working, ingredients that are not inflammatory, and it's been used in its percentage that are known to be effective. And the third one is preservative, a good preservative system.
Okay, and then the other, so now I'm down to 2 questions. So the second question is on the bakuchiol, or however.
Bakuchiol, everybody says.
Yeah, so from my understanding, there was a company in France that basically patented that name. And then there are all these other products out there that are, and I forget the name of the seed that it actually comes from, because it's an extract from a seed that's commonly grown in India, and it's been used in Ayurvedic medicine forever, evidently. So one of the problems I've had, because people will say, oh, I want some organic bok choy and I look around and I can't, if I work directly with organic or sustainably sourced versions of this particular ingredient coming out of India, because they come from these sort of impoverished areas, I can't, I have to run all the quality on it myself. The PV is always off the charts. So it's in rancid oil because it's in a carrier. It's not an individual ingredient. What's your experience been with that?
Well, the bakuchiol I was looking at was the bakuchiol extract from this certain company. I don't want to name names. And I saw their data. I like their data. I was looking at PubMed. The bakuchiol oil, as you said, it's in a carrier and may not have the same effects. So I think at that point, bakuchiol oil, if it's not the oil itself, but it's in, let's say, sunflower oil, right? That could be only for marketing, but it won't have the same effect of a bakuchiol extract.
Is the extract water or oil soluble?
I think it's water soluble, but I don't remember oil. I have to look.
Yeah, so whatever I'm seeing that's oil soluble is a whole different critter. Because that's the other thing is people do these, they say extract, and I always want to say, okay, is it oil or is it water? So that's going to tell you the actual chemicals. And so that's then, so that was my third question. What is the actual, have you seen any papers that call out the name of the chemical in the bakuchiol that's actually the active?
I have to go back and look. It's not top of my head right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's really sort of the bottom line is when I look at different oils, you know, like if you break down fatty acids and you look at the fatty acid profile of oils, you can see the different effects that they each have. Or if you look in water soluble materials, you can see the specific chemicals that are in that, say, that have been isolated in an extraction process. So that's what I'm curious.
I think the paper kind of names it, but I don't remember top of my head right now. I can have a look.
Find it. I'll go. It's in PubMed.
PubMed, yeah.
I'll find it. Don't worry. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so those are the questions I have. Anybody else?
I did have a question real quick on adaptogens, because that's really a growing area. We're seeing a lot of popularity in these ingredients, and we haven't seen a lot of data on, you know, with its effects on skin. Are there any papers that you could direct me to that I could read more on that?
Sure, I can email you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Because I'd really be interested, because I feel like there's a couple of different definitions that we've seen. And, you know, I think we've defined it to some people as, you know, plants that can live and thrive in extreme conditions and have the ability to adapt to that. So I feel like it's almost like microbiome or natural. You can almost spin it any way you want with certain plants. Or is there a specific category where, you know, I think you referenced the mushroom extract. Is it always going to be the set of plants?
No, I think the adaptogen, like how it started marketing, they focused on the mushrooms, you know, adaptogens. But the way you described it, you know, plants that can thrive in extreme conditions, I think Edelweiss was one of them.
Yeah.
It lives, what, 3,000 meters up? Yeah, that's pretty harsh. Globe Daisy also, that lives around 3,000 on the Alps. So you can also call them as adaptogens because they're adapting to a really bad situation and making the best out of it. So, but marketing wise, when you say an adaptogen, everybody remembers the mushrooms. So it is up to us to change the narrative, like Immunocosmetics, right? So this year, I've been seeing everywhere in most of the magazines, the high-end magazines and whatnot, they're talking about inflammation. They're talking about stress-related immune responses and wellness and skin. I'm like, this is Immunocosmetics. That's what you're looking at. So I think the time has come to name this area and keep everything under one area.
I agree. I love it. Like, I think it makes so much sense. And it's such good timing for it. And I wish, you know, the way you described it in your slide was absolutely perfect. It makes it very easy to understand. And it's just, I feel like we need more brands that can translate that information like you do. which again, why I'm a super fan of your products, but this was just really interesting. So I'm really, really happy that I was able to join today.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Okay, everybody. Well, I think we have the next one set up. I don't remember what the next webinar is, but I believe Barbara Olioso, who is a green chemist from England, has agreed to do a webinar for us. She's just put out a book on natural and preservatives that work more in the systems, in the types of systems that we're trying to make in this space. And I know there's another person who's agreed. So, and Annie, you're gonna email me and let me know what's going on with Alejandra.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so we really look forward to it. And thank you all for joining us today at the NOHBA webinar. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.